Now, when we talk about content first, it's going to be more complicated this way. It feels safe when you know that no matter what your instructor gives you, you plug it into the 5-paragraph essay. That's the safe way to do it. That's the simple way to do it. I would argue that's the mindless way to do it. It's going to be more complicated when we start putting the content prior to the form. All right. So that means that not every essay is 5 paragraphs. If it is 5 paragraphs, it will be an arbitrary number. It just stumbles upon 5 paragraphs. It's not because we set out and made sure that every essay is 5 paragraphs. All right. It just so happens that it takes 5 paragraphs to prove your point. So when we put content first as opposed to form first, you have to think critically and account for a handful of things. You need to think about, what do I believe on this topic? What is the topic about? What does your audience know or not know? How can we convince them? When we think about these things, that will help us develop your organization based off of those concepts. All right. We're going to read, and I don't know if you're reading it tonight or not, but we're going to read a Sue Lorch reading where she discusses putting content ahead of form. All right. She goes and she has to write an essay about, she has to describe a painting. Okay. The first time she does it, she describes the painting the way she always describes paintings. All right. The same form as always, just like a 5-paragraph essay. She doesn't call it a 5-paragraph essay, but just the idea of she always describes a painting this way. All right. She doesn't do well. She does it again. And when she does it again, she has to account for these bullets ahead, above here. Her opinion, what the topic dictates, and her audience. And in doing that, that's how she creates an organization. So the Sue Lorch reading will help maybe give a specific example of what I'm discussing right now. All right. So when we put content first, we're looking for authentic communication. All right. It's not just a list of reasons why you're right. A 5-paragraph essay is, I'm right and here's 3 reasons. But that's not how we communicate. That's not actually how we discuss issues in the real world. Essays are just written down arguments that you're having. You don't get a pass to be boring or predictable when you write because it's writing. And face to face, that's where I do things that are a little bit more interesting. No, when we write, we want to do those things that are interesting. All right. It allows you to account for others' opinions, which is authentic. Your essay should read more like a conversation with your reader. When I think about the 5-paragraph essay, I think about just how inauthentic it is. When we meet someone, we don't always say the same things. Hello, my name is blank, and this is what I think. It's nice to meet you, and I always have, one thing to say about it. That is not how we communicate. We look at our surroundings, and we determine what's the best way to approach that specific situation. All right, so I have an example here. A 5-paragraph structure, the thesis, would look something like this. Kentucky Fried Chicken is the best fast food for 3 reasons. We looked at this thesis, right? A content-driven structure, the thesis would look something a little bit more authentic, a little bit more logical, all right? Not just a list of reasons, but taking into consideration what other people feel and what your response to those other people would be. So, although some rightly criticize Kentucky Fried Chicken as unhealthy, if eaten sparingly, it can really be a delicious treat. So that's what I'm going to argue. And in that thesis, if you unpack it, there's multiple sections in that thesis, just like there's multiple sections in the 5-paragraph thesis. The difference is the one below, the content-driven structure, takes into consideration other people's opinions. And again, it just kind of has a logical structure. it's structured like an idea, not like a list. Like you're just gonna lecture someone about KFC and just randomly you chose 3 reasons. All right. So here's that thesis for the content-driven essay structure. And you can see you have that thesis. And in red, I would say that that is the first section. All right, we'll take on the opposing side first. You don't have to, but in this case, we can just have the essay follow the logic of the thesis. So healthy can be a section. It has an asterisk next to it to let you know it's a section, it's not a paragraph. Within that section, you can have a paragraph about the amount of calories, and that most of their meal options, this would be another paragraph, are based around greasy chicken and biscuits, items without many nutrients. All right. So we can still have a logical thesis and have an organized essay. All right. It doesn't have to be a list thesis to have an organized essay. So this would be the first section. It ties right into the thesis. All right. The second section would be about sparingly. So I'd have a paragraph maybe about, hey, it might be unhealthy and it wouldn't be smart to eat every meal. But eating it every once in a while wouldn't be that bad for a person. All right. And again, this idea is in that thesis, even though it's not listed in the thesis. It's packaged in a logical way. Last section would be delicious. And I'd have multiple paragraphs about it being delicious. About the sides, about the chicken, about desserts. These are all about deliciousness. All right? So the point of this example is to let you see that even though it's not a 5-paragraph essay with a 3-pronged listed thesis, when we do content-driven structure, we can still have, and we still need to have, a direct tie between the thesis and the body paragraphs. All right? It doesn't mean that, well, if I don't use the 5-paragraph essay structure, I don't need to structure it in any way. That would be wrong. So, the takeaway is that content dictates organization. Each essay is organized in a unique way. The thesis, just like the 5-paragraph essay, will dictate the structure for your essay. However, you're able to craft your thesis exactly how you want. You don't need a list of 3. All right? It's more authentic. And you can say as much or as little about a topic as you deem necessary. All right? Now, figuring out just how to organize your essay might be difficult, but it's a lot more fun than trying to plug in a 5-paragraph essay every time. Here's a quick little overview of the positives and negatives of a 5-paragraph essay. Take a look at this. Think about it. You can comment on the comment or the discussion for this week. Yeah, and we could talk about this more online. All right.